No, you know who I really want to talk about, and maybe
Yeah.
not even just this guy, but just I mean, I was going to say Davion Mitchell, but I also just want to say like the bench in general has been so good this series, from Davion to Monk to Trey Lyles and even to Alex Lynn. And we were talking about that backup five being like, well, is it
Yep.
actually going to be Lynn or is it going to be Metu? But man, Alex Lynn has looked so good off the bench and in the reserve for Sabonis, and he's getting the Warriors fit. They really don't have anyone to guard him. He's just way bigger than everyone, and he's being productive on both sides of the floor. One defensive player of the game. He got the chain in the first game, and he's looked great. And then Trey Lyles had that great game one. Um, didn't he wasn't as productive on the offensive end in game two, but that what I really like about Trey in this series so far is he's grabbing those rebounds, but he's snatching them down and making sure no one else can poke him away. Because you've seen it a couple times now where someone lazily grabs one and gets poked away. But when Trey Lyles goes up for a rebound, he is coming down with it. And that's something I've really respected because some of these rebounds, it's like, oh my God. Like giving up an offensive board in this series is big. Monk, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not
Ask the
surprised.
Warriors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Um, Malik Monk has obviously just looked fantastic. 32 points in game one. I don't, what did he score? Like 18 in game two? I don't remember, but he
That
was
second
still,
quarter though was just
yeah,
huge because they scored 17 in the first, and it's just like Monk kind of seemed like he set them back on the right track. He was
yeah,
going off. I mean, he hit like three straight
yeah,
shots, forced a
yeah.
timeout, and I think he went like over 3 after that. But um,
That was
this
kind
is
of enough.
that's exactly the beauty of Malik Monk. It's
Hmm.
really on full display.
Yeah,
I
and
don't know.
obviously he's looked good. I said it before this. I'm like Malik Monk is a guy who has not been in the playoffs yet, but he's gonna thrive in it. It's just his atmosphere. He's a very optimistic guy. Kind of, he just seems like a guy who's gonna live for the big moment and not be afraid of it. He's a guy who wants the spotlight on him. Um, and I mean he's shown that. He showed that in game one big time, and he showed it in game two, and I expect him to keep showing it throughout the whole postseason. But Davion Mitchell, and we were kind of talking about Davion Mitchell a little in this podcast at the beginning, but man, his defense has been so good. But I was so happy to see him knocking down threes this series because it allows him to play in the closing lineup. And if you can have him in the closing lineup against Steph while also being a guy who can knock down a shot and make a bucket and not be like that, it's like, okay, it's 4-on-5 defense, or offense, like sometimes you say when Davion's in the closing lineup. Like he hit the dagger in game two to
Hmm.
end it. Really, it was
Hmm.
threw him up nine with like a minute and a half left, maybe a little over a minute. When he can show that he's a threat on offense, at least just to score or hit an open three. I mean, that's just. I mean, of course he's going to be in the closing lineup. He's your best defender, especially with Steph Curry out there. The bench, it's just been. I mean, Fox has looked great, and Sabonis had a really good game too, and he had a good game one. He grabbed 16 boards, which shouldn't be overlooked. But I mean, and Barnes has looked decent too. But that bench, I mean, I think they're the reason we're winning this series so far because they've outperformed the Warriors bench big time.
Yeah,
And I feel like
it's
you can get a little more into the Warriors bench.
oh man. I mean, the Warriors bench has been a massive letdown. That seemed like the area that had the most momentum with like Wiggins coming back. So it was like either you're going to have Wiggins coming off the bench or you're putting Dante DiVincenzo back on the bench. And, like game one, I mean, DiVincenzo was the starter. So I can't even really like refer to him as a bench player. I mean, he played well in game one. Wiggins was he's done about as well as you can ask the guy to play. I mean, he really kind of had the offense going early in game one, kind of petered out near the end. He played pretty good defense in game two, but again, it kind of looked like he was petering out offensively speaking in game two. Gary Payton II was not a big factor in game one. He played well in game two. Kaminga didn't get a rebound in game one, didn't get much play time. Who else am I missing there? Oh, oh, yeah. Oh, who I'm missing? The guy who's been missing all series, Jordan Poole. 1 for 7 last. I mean, he rolled his ankle in game one. Klay Thompson referred to him as playing on like half a foot or whatever. I don't care if he's hurt or not. The Warriors need him to score off the bench, especially in those non-Curry minutes. And he hasn't. And one of the things that I just think is, I'm not a big fan of Jordan Poole. I like a lot of these players on the Warriors. Jordan Poole is not somebody I'm a big fan of. And I think game 2 demonstrated that. Not only was he a non-factor, but he's talking to the refs the whole time. I think when Sabonis was taking his 2 free throws after the stomp, they cut to him. I don't know if they, because I think you were watching NBC Sports, but on the TNT broadcast, they cut to him. And he's doing like the little juju fingers. You can read his lips. He's like, he's going to miss both. He's going to miss both. And he's just this like little animated little sucker. And it's like, that'd be cute, man, if you were putting up 18 a game like you'd average in the season. But you're literally, if you were playing a half a foot, you're putting your team in a situation where they're playing on half a foot because you're shooting them in the foot right now. He's been absolutely terrible. I don't care if his foot's hurt or not, or his ankle or whatever it is. It's been absolutely just bonkers in terms of just the disparity there, because I really anticipated, and I never was taking anything away from the Kings bench. I just thought the Warriors were coming in. They were going to be able to match things. I thought they would have a way better do a way better job of focusing on limiting Monk. In game 1, it's like they hadn't freaking changed the scouting report on Monk since his time with the Hornets and Lakers.
Yeah.
Because afterwards, Draymond's like, yeah, I mean, we were like focused on him as a 3-point shooter. What's he doing? He's getting downhill, hooking guys up with assists, finishing at the rim, getting 14 free throw attempts. And it's like, dude, who fire whoever was doing the scouting report on Monk? Like, what the hell? And like, they did a little bit of a better job on him in game 2, but Monk still had a Malik Monk game. He still had a 6-man, type game. And it's just like, I don't know. I think you're right. I mean, that's been one of the big disparities. It's like, and it highlights those non-Curry minutes. It's just, it's bad because, even if Lyles doesn't hit threes, like you said, he's rebounding. He's a smart defender. Davion Mitchell's always going to bring that defense. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. If he's hitting that offense and you get him in that closing lineup, that's going to be big in the playoffs. We saw that last night or on Monday night. Just talking about Malik Monk. Alex Len, I mean, like, one of the things that was surprising about him in the last 8 games of the regular season was this guy moves well. He runs the floor well, but better than I thought. He moves around on offense and defense pretty well, but way better than I thought. His mobility as a defender is great. He puts himself in the right position, and then he's just so big. I don't know. It's just that size has really made a huge difference against the Warriors when it seemed anticipated that it could be a mismatch. And I don't know, man. It's just, it could not have gone any different. Because I was saying this last week. I'm like, that bench thing's going to be a big difference. That's going to be a big difference maker. Because the Warriors are coming in all hot and everything like that. And 2 games in, I'm just fucking, it went the opposite way. The Kings are just, they look so good. And also, even if the Warriors bench is playing the way it is, I mean, like, if Jordan Poole is scoring and DiVincenzo's doing his thing and Gary Payton's making a difference on defense and hitting open threes and whatnot and having energy plays, even if that's happening, the one thing that stood out was the Kings actually might be the deeper team. Because you think about it with the Warriors, they have like the rookies and they have like Anthony Lamb. Like, you're not going to see those guys ever. The Warriors can only go 8 or 9 deep. I mean, like, you saw Moses Moody. He kind of had some energy moments. I mean, he came in and contributed to those like 5 fouls because he got early tread in the third quarter because I think Draymond got into foul trouble.
Mm-hmm. And so did Looney.
So I guess what I'm trying to say here is the Kings kind of already seemed like they were the deeper team, but where it mattered, it seemed like the Warriors had more meat on the bones, and that's just not been the case. And in terms of kind of Curry putting this huge load on his shoulders that's unsustainable, I think the bench more than anybody, probably Jordan Poole more than anybody, has contributed to that. And the Warriors got to figure something out. Somebody's got to come in and help. And that bench is just, they've earned themselves a really, really poor grade in these first 2 games.
I always kind of knew. I was like the Kings bench. I was saying that last week. I'm like, they have a good bench, and I mean, I'm not saying the Warriors don't, but I mean, I'm not as surprised, but I definitely am surprised a little because I mean, they have been kind of non-factors, really.
Yeah, just how bad Golden State's bench has been.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's awful. It's terrible. When Kerr says we got to figure out the non-Curry minutes out, we got to make those better. He said that after game one, but I'm sure that thought has still remained, and man, they got to be looking at that bench. So, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what the Warriors do. You saw a little bit of JaMychal Green, which I kind of thought might happen. He didn't do anything. I think he only played about a minute. He's got good length and defense, but he got no chance on the boards against Domas. I think you'll see a lot of Moses Moody. You'll need to. But it's interesting because the Warriors, in terms of Len, they just don't have, like, the two bigs they play are Looney and fucking Draymond. And it's just like, man, I don't know what they're going to do to match Len, because it ain't going to be Anthony Lamb, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think I saw some Warriors fans going like, I want to see Anthony Lamb in game 3. I'm like, what? You do? You want to lose? No, your best chance is to play Moody and see what the kid can do. The lottery pick that you have that you never play.
Yeah.